Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Hope you guys are having a good one, man. Gonna do a reaction. It's a little bit of a different reaction. I don't know if it fits within classic rock or folk rock or what have you, but I'm going to do a song called Alice's Restaurant, and it's by Arlo Guthrie. And I understand it that it is quite a traditional thing to play this song during Thanksgiving. So, man, I want to give a shout out first and a thanks very much to Evelyn. Evelyn has sent me this link and recommendation, and she's got a note here. She said, here's the original from 1967. It's really an anti war song told in story form, about 18 minutes. This was played every Thanksgiving on FM rock pop radio for at least a decade, probably still on classic rock stations. All right, Evelyn, thanks, man. So yeah, I've heard of this song, but I don't think that I've actually heard the song. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to it. I've heard some really cool things about it. So I heard about the anti-war, and supposedly it would have crossed my path had I kept going with the anti-war, but the Zeppelin factor happened. Anyways, let's hit this up, man. This is Arlo Guthrie, Alice's Restaurant. Let's get it.
This song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song. And that's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Facha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the city dump.
Far from me.
Well, we got there, and there's a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving. And we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage, and wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, cannot tell a lie." I put that envelope under that garbage. After speaking over for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, headed on toward the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only one or two things that Obie could have done at the police station, and the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. Another thing was that it could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again.
Enlist or go to jail.
But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on. He said, shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car, and that's what we did. We sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened here. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster, tire track, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. Said, kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt. And I said, Obie, I can understand you wanting my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for? And it said, kid, we don't want any hangings. I said, Obie, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering? Obie said he was making sure, and friends Obie was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, and have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Alice came by and with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obie came in with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one. Sat down. Man came in, said, all rise. We all stood up, and Obie stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in, sat down with the seeing-eyed dog, and he sat down. We sat down. Obie looked at the seeing-eyed dog. Then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and looked at the seeing-eyed dog. And then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and began to cry, because Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there wasn't nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow, but that's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. We got a building down New York City. It's called Whitehall Street, where you walk in and you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in, I sat down, got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning. 'cause I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. Man, I wanted to feel like I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York. And I walked in, sat down, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I walked in, I sat down, they gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. And I went up there, I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. And I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And it started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And the sergeant came over, pinned the medal on me, set me down the hall, said, "You're our boy." Didn't feel too good about it. Proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, and I was just having a tough time there. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and they wasn't leaving no part untouched. Proceeded through, and when finally came to see the very last man, I walked in, sat down after a whole big thing there, and I walked up and said, "What do you want?" He said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and then other phenomena. Stopped me right there and said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. And stopped me right there and said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." And I walked over to the bench there, and there's Group W is where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench there. Mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me, and it was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible and crime-fighting guys are sitting there on the bench. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me, and he was mean and ugly and nasty and horrible and all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage." He said, "What were you arrested for, kid?" And I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there to carry eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty things, till I said, "And creating a nuisance." And they all came back, shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father rape, and all kinds of groovy things that we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things until the sergeant came over, had some paper in his hand, held it up and said, "Kids, this piece of paper's got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words. We want to know details of the crime, time, the crime, and that kind of thing. You got to say pertaining about the crime. Want to know the arresting officer's name, and that kind of thing. You got to say." And it talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said. But we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like it was, and everything was fine. And I put down a pencil and I turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side. In parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words. Kid, you rehabilitated yourself. I went over to the sergeant and said, Sergeant, you've got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I'm sitting here on a bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench. Cause you wanna know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids' houses, and villages after being a litter bug. He looked at me and said, Kid, you don't like your kind. And we're gonna send your fingerprints off to Washington, and friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folders, a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm singing you the song now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do, is walk into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in and say, shrink. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant and walk out. You know, if just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. And if 3 people do it, can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacre movement. And all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. With feeling. So we'll wait till it comes around on the guitar here. Sing it when it does. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. If you want to end war and stuff, you gotta sing loud. You could put a lot. I've been singing the song now for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around is what we're doing. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Accepting Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. So walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. At Alice's restaurant.
Wow. What a song. Holy cow. What a song. What a story being told. Oh my goodness. The part about him getting in trouble, I thought right away the police was going to basically just slap it to him, You either enlist or you go to jail, because I know that there was some harsh recruiting being done back in those days. But holy cow. Funny, very funny, but also dealing with some serious subject matter. Shout out to my vets. Shout out to our vets. Man, when you're going through the recruiting process and you're going through the steps of boot camp and your trade training and your combat training and all of these different things, you've got all kinds of different uniforms on and you've got all of these different people yelling at you. Yo, man, I tell you, it's a different, it takes you in a different headspace. Listening to this song, it flashed me back to my time when I was getting recruited and I was going through that process. And just before we were getting ready to go to the Persian Gulf, I remember being in line with hundreds of sailors, soldiers, and airmen, and we were getting so many inoculations. I remember we got like 17 inoculations. Turned our pee golden brown, man, and got back from our service and everything, got discharged, and after that I wasn't allowed to donate blood for 15 years. It took 15 years, whatever that shit it was that they pumped into us, to clear our systems. Listening to this song took me back to all of that shit, man. Unbelievable. Yo, shout out to my vets. So, Alice's Restaurant. What a song, man. It had a little bit of everything in there. This is gonna require a couple of listens and a little bit of dissecting, if you will. But, oh man, I'm sorry, I just opened the Wikipedia page to Alice's Restaurant. There is a ton of information about this one song, man. Holy. I'm gonna have to jump around, but I don't want to jump around too much because I might miss the significance. What I'm really looking for in all of this, understandably, it's an anti-war song just by listening to it, but I'm also looking for that connecting link as to why it is played so regularly during Thanksgiving. That is the associated factor that I'm really looking for. So I don't want to jump around too much because I might miss it. If I miss it, please fill me in and let me know. Give me a little piece of a history lesson there, man. All right, Alice's Restaurant. Alice's Restaurant is a satirical talking blues song by singer-songwriter Arlo Guthrie, released as the title track to his 1967 debut album, Alice's Restaurant. The song is a deadpan protest against the Vietnam War draft in the form of a comically exaggerated but essentially true story from Guthrie's own life. He is arrested and convicted of dumping trash illegally, which later leads to him being rejected by the draft board due to his criminal record of littering, and the way he reacted when the induction personnel brought it up. The title refers to a restaurant owned by one of Guthrie's friends, who plays no role in the story aside from being the subject of the chorus. She did bail him out the first time though, and gave Arlo a tongue lashing. Yeah, man. I remember when the fleet was down in, we were escorting the, oh my goodness. What carrier was it that we were escorting? We went to Singapore. I think it was the, let me think for a minute here. I think it was the Enterprise. We're escorting the Enterprise. And we were down in the South Pacific Rim. We hit Guam, Hong Kong, Singapore. Got into Singapore. And somebody was caught littering a package of that encased chewing gum, and they littered it on the floor. On the ground. Somebody saw it. And before you know it, a paddy wagon came, grabbed this person and the party that was with them and took them off to jail. And they suffered like a serious fine. I think they were in jail overnight, something like that. It was the shore patrol guys that had to go and bail them out. And oh my goodness, Singapore. So I got all of these things coming back to me as I'm listening to this song. I got to stay on point though. I got too many things in my head. Where the hell was I now? The song was inspired. The song was inspiration for the 1969 film, also named Alice's Restaurant. The work has become Guthrie's signature song, and he has periodically re-released it with updated lyrics. In 2017, it was selected for preservation in the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and artistically significant. Characteristics. Guthrie refers to the incident as a massacre, a colloquialism originating in the Ozark Mountains that describes an event so widely, improbably, and barbarically messed up that the results are almost impossible to believe. It's a corruption of the word massacre, but carries a much lighter and more sarcastic connotation, rather than describing anything involving actual death. Yeah, he crafted this very, very well. He could have went dark, but he stayed on the light side. That takes some creativity. The story. Guthrie explains that his friend Alice owns a restaurant, but adds that Alice's Restaurant is the name of the song, not the business. He then sings the chorus, which is in the form of a jingle for the restaurant, beginning, "You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant," and continuing with directions to it. Oh my gosh, man. They break this shit down in parts. Part 1, 2, 3, and the epilogue. And it's like 4 paragraphs, 6, 8 paragraphs each. Yeah, let's skip over the breakdown of part 1 and 2, man. Okay, we'll go to the last part of epilogue. In the final part of the song, Guthrie explains to the live audience that anyone finding themselves in a similar situation should walk into the military psychiatrist's office, sing the opening line from the chorus, and walk out. He predicts that a single person doing it would be rejected as sick, and that 2 people doing it in harmony would be rejected as faggots, but that once 3 people started doing it, it would then begin to suspect an organization, and 50 people a day would be recognized as the Alice Restaurant anti-massacre movement development. Development. Development is a section. Guthrie cited the long form monologues of Lord Buckley and Bill Cosby as inspirations writing the song's lyrics, and a number of different musicians, in particular Mississippi John Hurt, as inspirations composing the Piedmont fingerstyle guitar accompaniment. The song was written as the events happened over the course of approximately 1 year. It grew out of a simple joke riff Guthrie had been working on in 65 and 66 before he appeared before the draft board. Additional portions of the song were written during one of Guthrie's many stays with the English songwriter and music journalist Carl Dallas and his family in London. Guthrie sent a demo recording of the song to his father, Woody Guthrie, on his deathbed. It was, according to a family joke, the last thing Woody heard before he died in October of '67. Because of the length of the piece, Guthrie never expected the song to be released, because such extended monologues were extremely rare in an era when singles were typically less than 3 minutes in length. Response: it's become a tradition for many classic rock and adult album alternative radio stations to play the song each Thanksgiving. Okay, here it is. That's what I'm looking for. Despite its use of the slur faggots, radio stations generally present the song uncut as it was originally recorded, and the Federal Communications Commission has never punished any station for playing the song. When performing the song in later years, Guthrie began to change the line to something less offensive and often topical. During the 1990s and 2000s, the song alluded to the Seinfeld episode, The Outing, by saying, "They'll think you're gay." Not that there's anything wrong with that. And in 2015, Guthrie used the line, "They'll think they're trying to get married," in some parts of Kentucky, a nod to the controversy at the time surrounding County Clerk Kim Davis. So there isn't more about Thanksgiving. Okay. I thought that there'd be a little bit more contributing to why the song is played every Thanksgiving. It didn't really say, it just states, yeah, the song is played quite often at Thanksgiving, but doesn't give a lead in, a history lesson as to why and how it kind of got attached to that. That's what I was looking for. Okay. After the release of the original album, Guthrie continued to perform the song in concert, frequently revisiting and updating the lyrical content. By the late 70s, Guthrie had removed the song from his regular concert repertoire. He's got to be accomplished in his own right to not perform the song, so he's got to be known for a lot more than just Alice's Restaurant. Good for him. Artist reflections. In a 2014 interview with Rolling Stone, Guthrie explained that he believes that there are such things as just wars, and that the message of this song was targeted at the Vietnam War in particular. Interviews with Ron Bennington in 2009 and NPR in 2005 described the song not so much as an anti-war song, but as an anti-stupidity song. Guthrie considered the song as relevant as in 1965. All right. Yo, man, there's so much information. That's historicity. Okay, let's do that. Most of the events of the story are true. Littering incident was recorded in the local newspaper at the time it happened. The littering incident, sorry. And although Guthrie made some minor embellishments, the persons mentioned in the first half of the story all granted interviews on the subject, mostly verifying that part of the story. The second half of the story does not have as much specific corroborating evidence to support it. The public exposure of COINTELPRO in 1971 confirmed that the federal government was collecting personal information in anti-war protesters, as Guthrie alleged. Okay, and here's some information about Alice herself. Alice and her husband Ray. The Alice in the song was restaurant owner Alice Mae Brock. In '64, shortly after graduating from Sarah Lawrence College, Alice used $2,000 supplied by her mother to purchase a deconstructed church in Great Barrington, where Alice and her husband Ray Brock would live. Signed to the restaurant. Alice Brock operated a restaurant called The Back Room in '66 at 40 Main Street in Stockbridge, located behind a grocery store and directly underneath the studios of Norman Rockwell. The Back Room was already closed by the time the song was released. It ceased operations in April of '66. Teresa's Stockbridge Cafe was last known to occupy the site. The cafe sign makes note that the space was formerly Alice's restaurant. Okay. In '69, Random House published the Alice's Restaurant Cookbook, which featured recipes and hippie wisdom from Alice Brock, as well as photos of Alice and Guthrie, and publicity stills from the movie. A tear-out record was included in the book with Brock and Guthrie bantering on 2 tracks. Okay, and two of the most popular recipes is Italian-type meatballs and my grandma's beet jam. Beet jam is delicious, man. Alright, legacy. Alice's Restaurant of Skylonda, California, founded in the 1960s, was named in homage to this song. Okay. And the feature film. The song was adapted into the '69 movie Alice's Restaurant, directed and co-written by Arthur Penn, who had heard the song in '67 while living in Stockbridge and immediately wanted to make the song into a movie. Right on. We need more people like this guy, taking great concept albums and turning it into film. You know what I'm saying? I've been on the concept album kick lately, listening to some great concept albums, and man, let me tell you, a lot of these concept albums, they should be turned into film. Hollywood right now is just regurgitating the same old shit. They need some really, really good original inspirations. Turn the concept albums, man. Turn that shit into a film. Abigail, Redheaded Stranger. I can go on and on and on. Yeah, man. Turn concept albums into films. I'm gonna write somebody about that. Guthrie appears as himself, with Pat Quinn as Alice Brock and James Broderick as Ray Brock, William O'Bannon and James Hannon appearing as themselves, and Alice Brock making a cameo appearance. The movie was released in August of '69, a few days after Guthrie appeared at the Woodstock Festival. A soundtrack album for the film was also released by United Artists Records. The soundtrack includes a studio version of the song, which was originally divided into 2 parts, one for each album side. A compact disc reissue of the Ryko disc label presents this version in full and adds several bonus tracks to the original LP. Okay. Yeah, let's stop there, man, because it's got all of these references and dates and stuff and the bibliography, all kinds of stuff, man. Yeah, holy. It's a tremendous amount of information about this. Yeah, man, so if you guys can give me a little bit more of a history lesson as to why this song is played on classic rock stations every Thanksgiving, that association, there's got to be a little bit more history than what I got from Wikipedia here. I'd really appreciate that. I don't like being ignorant about things, especially where music is concerned, man. So I remember that this song was in the lineup of anti-war songs that I would have approached had I not been distracted by the Led Zeppelin factor. But it was time for me to check out, time for me to stop doing my reactions to anti-war songs. It was just taking me back to a time in my service history and bringing things up that I definitely wanted to bury. So it was time to leave the anti-war stuff. But I think that's how I first became acquainted with the song, the idea of the song, and going from there. So when Evelyn said, "Hey man, I want you to react to this for Thanksgiving," I said to myself, okay, I actually have a chance now to complete what I didn't before. So cool. Shout out to you, Evelyn. I'm just scrolling down here, man, and checking my notes here. Yeah, I spoke about Led Zeppelin. Right now I'm in the middle of doing How the West Was Won, the live Led Zeppelin reaction segments. And I just recently, sadly, it didn't make it onto YouTube, just did a spotlight on John Paul Jones, the magic of John Paul Jones. and I call him the glue. You know, John Bonham might be the thunder, Robert Plant might be the banshee, Jimmy Page is the I guess he's the creative element, the creative force. John Paul Jones is the glue. And it was great to actually focus on him for a little bit, how he started, his inspiration, mixing with Jimmy Page, and I guess catching Jimmy's vision and then wanting to be a part of it. So it was very, very interesting. But also, too, it was also about exploring his playing skills, his skills on the bass specifically, and some of the different riffs and all of the stuff that he's created. He's really, really very smart, creative guy, man. So anyway, check that out. You'll have to go searching for it on my Vimeo or on my Patreon. It's public on my Patreon. Everything is public on my Patreon. So, and you don't have to sign up and, commit or anything like that. So as soon as I drop the word Patreon, everyone thinks that I'm expecting you to go and sign up and shit. No, you don't have to go and sign up on my damn Patreon. All you have to do is just go to the public page and everything is public, So it's just a matter of where you want to go. Some people don't like going to Vimeo for some reason. So just go to my Patreon. Every single reaction video that I post onto YouTube, you can just scroll down into the little information section and just click on Patreon. It'll just take you right there. All right. So, man, that is my reaction to Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant. Now I gotta go find the film and check out the film. And I think I'd really enjoy that, especially the actual cameo appearances by Alice and some of the other folks. What else do I have to say about this, man? This was really cool. I think I'm gonna have to go back and reread a lot of this stuff that I skipped over, because I think within these texts there's probably the answer to what I'm looking for, that association of why this song is played every Thanksgiving. So I'm looking for that a little bit more. If you have reference, if you just know the history very well, share that with me, will you? I'll really appreciate that. All right, man. So that's it for me. I'm going to bounce. Thanks very much for joining me, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Shout out to the vets, man. Love you guys. Love you guys and ladies. And thank you for keeping us safe, man. Thank you for affording us the freedom to be able to enjoy Thanksgiving. Spend some time, So, yeah, man, shout out to the vets, man. So many things coming back to my mind as I was listening to this. Anyways, you guys have yourselves a good one. Take care, and I'll catch you in another reaction. Peace. Happy Thanksgiving.